Hello, my name is Jason. It's August 26th, and I'm going to go ahead and put up a general summary of my opinions about the MagicJack. I've got the MagicJack for about 2 weeks now. I ordered it on August 12th, and so far I'm pretty impressed with it. I mean, just for 20 bucks a year, you can pretty much replace your current voice over IP service or telephone service, that you're paying for 20 to 30, 35 bucks a month. What caught me by surprise initially was that the shipping came in pretty fast. I got it about two or 3 days later, and after setting it up, the setup was fairly painless. I mean, you just plug it in, and then it's the time-consuming part. Time-consuming being maybe 5-10 minutes. 15 minutes is mostly just filling out the forms and just registration information online. So none of the technical stuff really posed a problem. And I did a few tests with it so far, mostly within the first week of playing around with the product. The first was just the first initial setup. After the first initial setup, just putting a first phone call to like my brother, my first test, and he noted, as well as I noted, was the voice quality was pretty good. It was really good actually, and then after that, there was a second test that I did with my laptop still. I had my laptop do some downloads of about 250 kilobits per second worth of downloads, and about, I think it was 80 or 100 megabits per second uploading files to at the same time, while also downloading probably another 100 to 150 kilobits per second of like some other file from Internet Explorer and stuff like that. So I was trying to do as much downloads as I could, and even while doing that and using up the upload and download bandwidth of my internet connection, the sound quality, as I placed another phone call at that moment, was still pretty decent. I did notice that it was just slightly fuzzier, but hardly so, and maybe a little laggier, but it wasn't too noticeable at all. And just again, if you guys hadn't seen the previous clips, the system that I stuck the MagicJack into initially is my laptop, which is a dual core. It's a got 1.5 gigahertz memory, and I believe it's like a 1.8 gigahertz CPU on both of the cores. So it's a pretty decent computer. It's fairly fast. I got it about two years ago. So the MagicJack sound quality was fairly to very good on that system, and with the cable internet service that I'm on, which currently I'm getting downloads of anywhere from 6 to 8 megabits per second download, and uploads anywhere from 2 to 3 megabits per second. So just to keep that in mind. Also, the third test that I did was over the weekend, after the week that I had gotten the MagicJack. I had set up a dedicated system, but on a spare system that was just about a 1.7 gigahertz, it was a P4 system, 1.7 gigahertz system with only about 350 megabytes of system memory. The performance was fairly decent, provided that I actually wasn't doing any downloads or uploads at that moment. And the moment that I was doing downloads or uploads at the same time that I was dialing through that computer with the MagicJack, I did notice a considerable drop in quality, and I would get, I was able to hear okay from the other side, but people who were trying to listen on to what I'm saying on their side were getting cut up, and they were complaining about getting choppiness and some the audio quality sort of dropping. So it didn't really work very well on my slower sort of spare system if I was still doing downloads and uploads at the same time while I was calling. So that's something to note. So there are definite, I would say there are definite hardware requirements where you would want to get at least a system that's, I'd say, a Pentium 4, 2 gigahertz processor speed or higher, with at least a gig, maybe about a gigabyte of RAM. And nowadays, any computer pretty much that you buy will exceed that specification, unless you just get like a $200 or $300 system from Walmart or something, I don't know. So that's what I've found out so far. And then in the coming weeks, whenever I have time, as soon as I have time, I would. There are still a few things that I'd like to test out with the MagicJack, and one thing is actually bringing the MagicJack and hooking it up to one of my brother's computers over at his place, which he's on a. He's also on a high-speed internet connection, but he's on a much slower tier service than I have. He's getting about a 1 megabit per second download only, and anywhere from 200 to 400 kilobits per second upload. So it'd be interesting to see how the MagicJack would perform. He's got a slower and a faster system, so I can do tests on both too. And on top of that, I've got in my garage some old fax machines, printer faxes that I'd like to test, because I've noted on some of the forums and bulletin boards online that a few people have been wondering if you can do faxes on the MagicJack. And what's interesting is that on the MagicJack website, they say that it's not officially a feature to the MagicJack to do faxes, but it's kind of like a 50-50 chance. Some faxes will work and some fax machines don't work, but they do give you some steps on how to test it, or test your fax, and to go about trying to use it on the MagicJack service. And then other than that, I mean, just maybe I haven't really played around with the actual GUI, with the user interface, the little touchpad that they give you here, and some of the options. I mean, the only thing that let me sort of bring this up here. The only thing that I've really played around with is, well, my cameras are being kind of stupid, is just on the right hand side of the screen, they just give you your call history, which I thought, you know, it could be convenient. If you have a list, you'll always have an up-to-date list of all the callers and all of the calls that you've initiated. So pretty interesting. Other than that, I'm pretty happy with the MagicJack, and I would recommend it for anybody who is currently paying upwards of $20 to $30 per month on a current home phone service, and that's what I think. So if you can, grab the MagicJack. It's $20 a year. And oh, there's one thing, they do give you a contract for like a 4 or 5 year contract for like, what is it, like 60 or 70 bucks, which is a huge discount. But in my opinion, I wouldn't really jump into that, because you never know in 4 or 5 years. You don't know what the technology would be in that time, as far as internet telephone service. There might be a whole different a technique, or a whole different way of doing phone calls over the internet, and so I would just do a year-by-year deal with them so far with MagicJack. So that's what I think. So tune in for the next clip, and there you go.